Hi everyone, how are you doing? My name is Confidence and this is Confidence Uncut. I make videos about lifestyle, fashion, beauty and life experiences. So please subscribe, turn on your notifications so you would be in the know anytime I upload new content that you are interested in. And to my existing family, you know how it is. It's unfiltered, uncensored, and unapologetic, and I must add loads of fun. Well, today I would want us to talk about my experience in pregnancy and childbirth. I know everyone has different experiences, and so I would say it would be good to, before you are, because when I was thinking of having babies and things like that, I didn't have any, there was no experience out there that I can look at and go like, okay, what is going on with my body is normal because so person had been through it. That is why I'm making this video. So if you're pregnant, thinking of getting pregnant, or want to know how pregnancy and childbirth go, I'm here. Hi. Okay, so let's start. My first child, Troy, kind of took me by surprise, and at that time I also didn't want a child, but for some reason my friend Wendy talked me into it that, oh, you know what, you've been married for 2 years now, so you have to, this is the time to produce babies for your husband and things like that. So literally I remember this very well, that at that time we were living together, me and Wendy and her sister Nana and all that. Wendy made sure, she's like, oh, let me get your dates. Before that, I never took notice of my menstrual cycle. So I wasn't the kind of girl that wrote down, oh, I'm fertile in this time, I'm fertile in that time. So Wendy sat me down and she was like, okay, when was your last menstruation? She wrote it down. Oh, you'll be fertile at this time, so Papa should come at this time. Actually, we got him to buy the plane ticket, came to Ghana around that time. Oh my goodness, wow. Wendy. I can put it this way, Wendy is a result of Troy. Without Wendy, I don't know if I would have had Troy at that time. And so basically, when I got pregnant, I didn't know what to do with myself. And I wasn't even sure if I was pregnant. So I did my pregnancy test, I said I was pregnant, and Wendy was like, no, I don't think so. But if it's so, we're so glad that you're pregnant. So then we went to buy pregnancy kits. Wendy did one, Sister Nana did one. I think her name was Ruth, my house help at that time. I think her name was Ruth. Ruth did one. Every female we found in the house had to do one. And it turned out that I was the only one that had a positive to the test. So now was I happy when I was pregnant? I was glad that I could get pregnant because I've had a history that I was told it would be difficult to get pregnant. So in a way I was quite happy, but in a way I wasn't ready. I was still in my clubbing days. I want to club, I want to party, I want to go out, I want to do things that you cannot do when you're pregnant, basically. So I was in Ghana when I found out that I was pregnant, and then I was living in London, going to school, and my husband was living in Holland, in Amsterdam. So came to London thinking that, oh, okay, I'm pregnant, I'll be by myself. No. There was no way I was going to be able to be by myself. So one night, I called my husband and said, I'm coming on the next flight to Amsterdam. It's like, okay, yeah, you come. It's your home. Why do you need permission to come? So I went to Amsterdam and oh my goodness. What I remember was the smell of food that I hated. So we lived on number 2 Damstraat, which is the center of all the tourism that is going on. So they would literally have to close all the windows to the house because I need nose up. Oh, there was no way I could stand any smell. Oh my goodness. Everything smells, anything food that has onions or garlic in it smells disgusting to me. I was puking all over the place. We tried, the doctors gave me medication to stop the puking. No way. So, oh gosh, to think about it, it was just a horrible thing. So my husband came up with this genius idea of, secreting me into a room. So one of the rooms in our house had like a dog or a cat trap that he would put food through it for me, because even the smell of my husband that I think is just so sexy actually pisses me off. Just his smell, his breath, everybody in my life just pissed me off. I don't know if it was because it was my first pregnancy, but no, I didn't do well with it. And then I thought it was a good idea to get a dog because I'm like, okay, you're going to give birth to a baby. If you can take care of a dog, you can take care of a child. So we went and we drove. I found this beautiful dog, a Chihuahua, somewhere close to the border of Belgium and Holland. We drove all the way down there to pick up the dog. Oh, I fell in love straight away. And then that is what I used. Oh my goodness, it sounds crazy, right? I used the dog, that was Dushy, to practice how to be caring. If that make any sense, but that's what I did. So Dushy became my thing. So the only thing that was allowed in my room was my dog. So it was me, my dog, and a lot of vomiting. Oh gosh. Ugh. Actually, because I was living in another room, there was nothing like that. Like, there was no sex throughout the 9 months, the poor man. So didn't do any of that. I'll put it this way. My first pregnancy was the worst time of my life. Then come to the birth. Okay, I think getting to the end when I was like 6-7 months pregnant, things got better. Oh, then things really got better. No vomiting. I stayed stable. I could go out. I could still smell garlic, onions, but it did not put me off, or it did not get me to the point of puking. Then I was a smoker. I stopped, the moment I found out actually that I was pregnant, I did stop smoking, I did stop drinking and all that, because I didn't want to bring a life to the world, and if something is wrong with them, I have myself to blame, so I wouldn't do that. So those were the things that I stopped doing. I didn't, throughout my pregnancy, never smoked, and maybe I might have had a 2 or 3 glasses of wine throughout the whole pregnancy, because I didn't want to be guilty. I didn't want to feel guilty just in case something went wrong with the pregnancy. And then I remember in the 7th month, I wanted to find out what sex it was. And I read about this, what's the name? Ultrasound that they can do with the baby, like a very, then that was when ultrasound videoing was new. And I found this in Amsterdam. There was only one place you could do it, was the university campus, and I went there, and then they did all the ultrasound. I knew that it was a boy, and then they put it on a cassette tape for me. I still have the cassette tape of Troy's heartbeat and all that. So, oh yeah, that was what? How many years ago? 60, 70 years ago?
It's been 84 years.
My pregnancy, towards the end, as I said earlier on, was really good. Then I started planning for the baby, the clothes I'll buy. I was doing the room that I was going to put him in. Curtains must match, what's the name? Bed sheets. Clothes must be arranged in color coordinated. So it's like I had his room, you have the neutral colors on the top, the blue, oh my goodness, that was a really nice time. Yes. The difficult time was the first 6 months. After that, I was good. At this point, me and my husband had discussed it, and we went like, okay, it's a good idea. You go to Ghana and have the baby. Because, oh God, I don't know what I would have done with a baby, because I have no experience, nothing. I've never been around someone who had children before. So it was just all, I was just imagining how that baby comes out. How am I supposed to bathe it? Blah, blah, blah. No, I wasn't. My husband knew for a fact that there was no way I could, go through it without my family. So I went back home to Ghana, and I think I got to Ghana in my 7.5 month, something like that. That's when I went back home to Ghana. Then I had Wendy come to live with me. My mom came to take care of me. And then our due date, Troy's due date was over. So Dr. Ahianji, which was the Lister Hospital, Dr. Ahianji was like, well, your due date is over, pick a day and we get it out. I'm like, okay. So I picked a date, we went to the hospital, my husband was there, my mom was there, my sister was there. It was quite lovely. Oh, I wish I could stand up and do what my mom was doing. So they induced me, and I wasn't dilating. So after 24 hours, Dr. Ahianji was like, okay, well, it's over 24 hours, you've been induced, and it's not, you're not dilating. I dilated, but not enough to push the baby. And then I had my mom, she was the joker of the night. Oh gosh. So if I'm in a little pain, she'll just walk through the room and then she'll go, are you in pain? And then I'll go like, yeah, mommy. And then she goes like, oh no, don't worry. The pain hasn't started yet. And then she'll be dancing, Jijinho, 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 meaning that giving birth is good. And she was like, why I'm dancing is because I gave birth to you and you're taking care of me. So it's good that you give birth so that your child can take care of you. So she'll come around, you see her, and her cloth, she had her cloth, her kente on her waist, and then she walk through the room and then she come out and then just keep dancing at the door, Jijinho, 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 Jijinho. And my poor husband, oh my goodness, he didn't even understand what was going on. So I'm in pain. I can't stop to explain why my mom is dancing. He's sitting there confused, like, what is wrong with these people? But my mom was doing all that to distract me from the pain. But hey, I never got dilated enough to push the baby, so I ended up having a cesarean. And with the cesarean, as stubborn as I am, that I know myself, when they put the epidural in me, after giving birth, I was told to lay flat for at least 2-3 days. But no, I will not. I shall not. And that gave me a headache for like 2 years after having the baby. So this headache stayed with me for 2 years. And then another thing that I remember was once Odin was, Troy. So my husband, so they took me to the theater. My husband, I could see my husband. Let me just even think if I remember this very well. I could see my husband. My mom wasn't there, so my husband was there. And then Dr. Hianji pulled out Troy and showed him to me. And I didn't feel anything. I was stitched up, and then I was just taken back to my room and the baby and all that. Oh, my husband that day, he was like, I don't know how to say it. Is it a lion? Like, no, like he was focused, zoomed on the baby, like you can't distract him. you couldn't distract my husband from the baby. Like, at some point, he even thought that a mosquito had gone through the diapers and bit Troy's bum cheek. How possible is that? He actually complained to the nurses, like, what's that round, spot? What's that round spot on Troy's bum? And we all just thought that, okay, that's odd. But it was so funny. We were all hovering like, ooh, 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 like, we've never seen a child. Of course, that's our first child. So that was my experience with the childbirth of my first child. That is Troy. And then I remember one time, this is like maybe 2 days later or a day later. Like a day later, a day and a half later, I went to the bathroom and my goodness, just a lot of blood just came gushing down. I was so scared. I was screaming for my mom, I was screaming for my husband, and then we had this nurse, oh, she's still my friend to date, Lucinda. Lucinda came and said, oh, that's normal, it's just the blood that needs to come down. I'm like, wow. So why didn't anybody tell me that after cesarean, there's something that had to come out? Like, you should warn me, like, get ready for it. I was so not ready for that. So that also was something that I remember that every girl through. You need to remember that after childbirth, your body goes through a lot of things. I lost my hair at some point. And then when I gave birth to Troy, they were trying to get me, because of the period, they were trying to get me to kind of squeeze breast milk out before they gave me the epidural, so that I have no, not before they gave me, before they gave me painkillers, because I was having headaches. So I tried to feed him, because they were like, oh, the first week, the milk that you make is very important. It's got all the nutrients that the baby needs, and it's very important to the baby. So I tried to breastfeed Troy, and he rejected my breast. Oh God. I was swollen. My boobs were painful. But this child just wouldn't suck the milk out. He just didn't want it. I tried everything. And then I started feeling really bad. Like, oh, why is my child rejecting me? Then Lucinda had to talk me down and talk me out of it, like, oh, it happens, like the baby might not be finding the nipple, blah, blah, blah. So basically, Troy was on bottled milk, like formula throughout. And then I was given an injection that dried the milk out of my boobs and my body, so then it didn't become painful anymore. So that was my first experience with childbirth, which is my son Troy. We went home. A week later, we had an outdooring, and in our culture, you have to bring the child out. Well, the first week, the child cannot see the world, or you can bring the child out. And I understand that maybe because of viruses and things like that, or the child can fall ill and things like that. Even you, the mother, you're not allowed to come out. So for a week, I was in a room with my child, and then a week later, in my culture, as an airway, some part of the airway, you would need to find someone with a good character that was born on that day to outdoor the baby. So my mom came with a cousin that she thinks that had good character to come and outdoor Troy. So we did the whole outdooring naming. You know, when they use they take calabash flour and they pacify the gods, because they have allowed the child to be in the living, not in the dead. So they pacify the gods, they prayed, and they did this thing that they put water in his mouth and say, when you taste water, it is water. When you taste alcohol, it is alcohol. When you taste, I think it was honey. When you taste honey, it is honey. So let's be truthful. And I did find that at the time they were doing it, I didn't like it. But my mom actually got me to understand what was being done. And I thought, oh, wow, that is actually quite good. So the child's first taste of anything that is sweet is honey, meaning they were trying to let the baby, not the child, the baby knows the difference between honey, water, and alcohol. Listen, that'll be another topic altogether. I'll bring that to you. So that happened, and then here I am with a baby. You have a whole preparation that, oh, you're doing this, you're doing that whilst you're pregnant, you're doing that, and then all of a sudden the baby is here, and then what do you do with yourself? So you have the baby, everybody else is caring for the baby. What do you do with yourself? That is where I had my genius idea that, okay, now I'm free of the baby. Did I say that quite well? Yeah, I'm free of the baby. No, I'm free of the baby. Yeah, my baby's here. What do I do with me, Confidence? Who am I? So now I'm no longer Confidence and a husband. I am Confidence, a husband, and a plus one. And that is where a lot of women sometimes can't handle it. And that is where postnatal depression comes in. I think I was about to have a postnatal depression, but I just turned it into, I am not the type that sit down and drown myself in sorrow or drown myself in problems. I'm the type of person, when I have a problem, I go like, how do I solve it? Or what would make me feel better? Instead of sitting down and going like, ponder on it. No. So I said, the party was always in my house. Anybody who knew me before Troy, you would know that once we go to the club or go to a restaurant, we all end up in my house. But now I have a baby, so the party cannot continue in my house. I thought, okay, what do we do? Let's take the party somewhere. And that is how come Aphrodisiac came to life. So I had my baby in September, 14th of September, and I opened Aphrodisiac on 24th of December, same year. So when I opened the club, I'd just had a baby, September, October, November. I've just had a baby like 2.5, 3 months. That's when I opened the club, because I had to find something to do. If not, I was going to drown. I was drowning. Because all attention, honestly, I felt jealous at some point because all that attention was being given to the baby. Once in a while, my mom was like, the only time my mom paid attention to me or anybody paid attention to me was when I'm supposed to sit on the hot water or they need to tie my belly to get it flat. That was the only time I got any love. Like, my mom would come and they, nowadays you have like waist trainers, right? Well, Africans had their own waist trainers. So they would take like cloth and then they will fold it in the size of where they want to be covered and where it needed to be compressed. And then they would take it and wrap it around you in scarves and pull it at your back. And that was trying to get your pregnancy tummy to go back in, so that it kind of, nowadays you use a waist trainer, but that was what my mom did. I remember also she got me to sit on hot water to get all the excess blood or whatever that is up there that come down. So that was my first experience with pregnancy. Then, oh gosh, I waited. You would think that after going through that, I'm like, oh, let me have it quick and finish with it. No. Obviously, the club took my attention. So I waited for 12 years before I had my second one. So my first was born in 2004. And my second was born in 2016. So that's 12 years, right? I think that's 12 years. So it took me 12 years to have the next one. That means I had a horrible experience. So it took 12 years to gather the courage again to have the second one. My second pregnancy was similar, but not that bad. The morning sickness was the same, but this time when I was given the medication, it worked better. I had a few complications along the line. First, I was diagnosed with lupus. So it was, okay, so before the pregnancy, the doctors were trying to find out what was wrong with me, why I was falling sick and all that. But then when I got pregnant, I had a flare and that was when they were able to diagnose me that this is lupus, and I was supposed to start taking medication. I decided, well, I was asked, do you want to take the medication or not? So I decided not to, just for the reason that I do not want to be responsible because here I am dealing with lupus, never heard of it, don't know what to do with it, and then medication. I'm like, okay, I will go through the pain. After I've given birth, I will think about taking the medication. So I went through the pregnancy without taking any medication to kind of stabilize me when it comes to the lupus. And so that was actually quite difficult because it was painful. I was always on a flare. And then another thing that happened was I woke up one night and my whole bed, the spot that I laid on, was full of blood. And me and my husband had a freaky, like crazy, scary moment. I thought I was losing the baby then, like I was losing Odin. We rushed me to the hospital and they took an ultrasound and they were like, oh, it's fine, it happens. Okay. Nobody told me that. So it does happen sometimes. It's not like because you see blood, that's the end of it, that you've lost the baby. No, it does happen. Then I went to do my ultrasound and they were worried that because of my age and some balance of whatever it was, they were scared that my child would be Down syndrome. So I did a test whereby they put a needle through my spine. Oh no, sorry, not my spine, on my belly. So they took the fluid of where the baby was. They took some fluid out and they took it to the test, blah, blah, blah. And it came out that my Odin was fine. So that pregnant, I remember that I kicked my husband out of the room. So the poor man was sleeping on a bunk bed for 9 months. Because Troy had the other room was full of my clothes. So he ended up sleeping on a bunk bed for 9 months. Odin-wise, also so Odin-wise, the midwives, because I had Odin in the UK, so the midwives, you had a birth plan. Like they tell you, okay, they want to know what you want to be done when you're giving birth, blah, 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 yada, yada. So I went for just a normal midwife appointment, and my blood pressure was so high. And they were like, no, we can't let you go home. So I wasn't even prepared to go and give birth. I just went for a normal. I think Odin was born 2 weeks earlier. Went to the hospital and they were like, we're not letting you go home. You have to go straight to the maternity ward now because the baby needs to come out. I'm like, what? Then I called my husband like, honey, I'm at appointment. They're like, oh, the baby's coming out now. I'm like, so he came rushing in. And then we went through the night, and Odin wanted to come out, but his forehead, he was trying to come out with his forehead. So when they were monitoring, the heartbeat just kept dropping. So they were scared that he might have had the umbilical cord around his neck. So they were like, okay, we're going to go straight and do a cesarean, because that was in my birth plan. We went to do the cesarean, and they had given me epidural already. So they were thinking that epidural should work, but it didn't work. We got to the theater, they would inject, and then they so if you're in a theater, what they do is that they put water and splash it over your tummy, thinking that you will feel it. And if you didn't feel it, that means you're numb. But I felt all whatever it was. And oh my goodness. I need to drink on that. The most painful thing. Listen, my body was in shock. I was trembling. I could feel them pull him out. Like they literally yanked. We have a problem. I could literally feel them. The thought of it even is, yank him out, because because of the time frame, they couldn't wait for me to be that numb for them to, because they tried everything. They had tried everything and all that. So they pulled him out. This is all I remember. They pulled him out, and I could see my husband's face smiling because he was stroking my head, trying to calm me down and all that. So all I remember was I could hear someone's voice like, you have to put her down, you have to put her to sleep. You have to put her to sleep. So someone came through the door, I got an injection, I woke up, and I woke up with blood. What I remember was there was a bunch of blood hanging on, there was a drip, and then there was a blood flow going into me. And when I woke up, my husband was right there, and then I said, what happened? And then he just told me the story. Apparently I had lost so much blood that if I had lost that blood in an accident or anything, I would have died, because the only reason why I'm alive is I lost that blood under a controlled situation or in a controlled environment. So I had what, 4 liters of blood, something like that. I had 4 liters of blood, and so I had to stay in the hospital because it was cesarean a week. And then a week came, we went home. And then the day we went home, that was a Thursday, I had my midwife come to the house to check up on us. And when the midwife came, we didn't know anything was going wrong. When the midwife came, took my temperature, looked at me and said, it's either you're going to call the ambulance now, or I'm going to call the ambulance, or your husband's you're going to the hospital like back right now. So me and the baby, me and Odin had to go back to the hospital because I had an infection from the cesarean. So they had to treat me for an infection. I stayed for another week. Oh my goodness. Came home, and then we had Odin's naming ceremony the same way as we did for Troy. Shine, my cousin, was so, oh my goodness. Listen, I can go on this pregnancy story forever, because Shine and Dinah played a huge role in me having the baby and being able to take care of the baby. I remember sometimes I'll call Dinah, I'm like, oh, I need someone from Ghana to come and help me. And then I'll go like, listen, I did 4. And I know you to be the strongest woman I have ever known, so you're going to be able to do it. So Dinah was always there. She was always on the phone trying to encourage me, or not try, always encouraged me to, do take care of Odin by myself. So I did that whole. So the difference between Odin and Troy, I had a million hands to take care of him. Odin, it was just me and my husband. So it's 2 total different experiences. And which one do I prefer? I think I prefer the one of Odin because I bonded more with Odin. And then after the 2 weeks, we had the naming ceremony. We got someone to come and do the whole salt water, honey thing. So that was also done for Odin. And then when we came finally about a month later, I was told when I was pregnant that Odin's antibodies could only be his. He could start producing his own antibodies, or let me put it this way. I was told that by the doctors that for 8 months of his life, he's going to have my antibodies, which had the lupus. So at some point, Odin, I think 6 weeks into his life, he started having blisters on his mouth, so he couldn't eat, he couldn't, because it was so painful that he was crying. So we had to go back to the hospital and stayed for, I think, 2 weeks. And this time we had to feed him through a tube. So they put a tube down his throat to feed him. So that was done. He was able to fend or fight off the lupus and all that. And then what else happened? Let me think what else happened that is important to let you know. Yeah, okay. So you remember I told you the story that Troy didn't want my breast? Okay. So here we are, me and Odin lying down in bed doing skin to skin, and this boy grasped onto my nipple. He stayed on that, honestly guys, he stayed on that nipples for 6 months. He just, when I mean he stayed on the nipple, like there was, even when I'm sleeping, Odin is breastfeeding. Even when I'm sleeping, Odin is breastfeeding. After 6 months, we woke up one day, he let go of the boobs, and that was the end of it. So there was only like, oh, this is how I began, breastfeeding him, and this is how I kind of cut him off the breast milk. No. He did his own thing. He decided, I want breast milk, and then he decided, I don't want breast milk. We did that. So he started off taking the breast milk when we came back from the hospitals. That was like what? 6 weeks, good 7 weeks into his birth. That was when he started taking breast milk. And I'm like, by the time he had finished, by the time he took the breast, I had no milk. I didn't have enough milk. Maybe that's why he was always on it. So Odin was breastfed. Troy wasn't breastfed. What else do you have to know? I'm thinking, because I just want to be honest, and then you guys, you can take something from it, and then you know that what you're going through is not different from what other women have gone through. Everybody's story is different. So take something from it, leave it. Well, you're going to experience it, so you would have your story to say or to tell, but you would have something to refer it to. Okay, what else that happened? Oh, cravings. Oh, you not believe this. Troy, I was craving cat meat. So I would drive all the way to Qatar and go and eat cat meat and come back. Yes. What was the craving for Odin? Nah, Odin didn't have any strange craving. No, Odin didn't have any strange craving. Troy had strange craving, which was the cat meat. So here we are. I have 2 beautiful kids, and just in case I've left something out, you guys can comment down below. You can ask all the questions, because this video is too long. I have to stop somewhere. It's too long. I would want to go into details if I get the questions, and then I can answer them. So I'm definitely sure we're going to do another video of childbirth and pregnancy, you name it, blah, 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 blah. Yes, so this is the story of my 2 kids, Troy and Odin. I hope you've enjoyed me just sitting here and telling you about my dogs, telling you about my cat meat cravings and all that. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you once more for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Turn on your notifications so that you would be in the know anytime I upload new content. And to my existing family, thank you. I love you. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms. Konfidence Uncut, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. Konfidence with a K. Or better still, you can follow moi, Konfidence Haugen on all the social media platforms. Yes, I have talked enough. I have yapped enough. Good night, good day, bye-bye, stay blessed, stay beautiful.